Cam Newton reveals Eagles considered Shedeur Sanders. Did the Philadelphia Eagles try to bring Shedeur Sanders in? The Philadelphia Eagles drafted a quarterback in the 6th round of the 2025 National Football League draft in Kyle McCord. McCord currently is on the Eagles practice squad right now. Around the time of the NFL draft, there was some chatter that the Eagles may have been interested in another quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, formerly of Colorado. Around the NFL draft, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported that the Eagles were among the teams that at least had some interest in Sanders. There have been rumors all day that the Philadelphia Eagles were interested in Shedeur Sanders, Rappaport said at the time. It'd be a perfect landing spot for him. A veteran quarterback room, a team with a really good backbone, a really good culture. The Cleveland Browns just traded over the Eagles. I wonder, obviously they got Dillon Gabriel yesterday. Did the Browns do this thinking the Eagles would take Shedeur? Just maybe, we'll see. Sanders is a member of the Cleveland Browns, and there's been some noise about him recently. Before the Browns faced the Baltimore Ravens Week 2, ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that Sanders shut down the possibility of going to Baltimore. Should the Eagles have made a move? The Baltimore Ravens were planning to draft Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round with the number 141 pick, league sources told ESPN, Schefter said. But before the Ravens could turn in the card, the former Colorado star let it be known to Baltimore that he didn't want to be on a roster with Lamar Jackson, where he wouldn't have a chance to play anytime soon, league sources said. Former Carolina Panthers and New England Patriots quarterback Cam Newton talked about Sanders on 4th&1 with Cam Newton, and said that the Ravens weren't the only team that Sanders snubbed and that the Eagles also were. My source tells me that it wasn't just the Baltimore Ravens, Newton said. It was 3 teams. The Cleveland Browns, the Philadelphia Eagles, and it was also the Baltimore Ravens. Now this is where the perspective gets skewed, because why wouldn't Shedeur want to go to Baltimore? If any team has been on the cutting edge of saying, we've figured out the recipe of drafting and developing good players to play great in the league, that's one of the teams that does it at a high level. Why not go to Baltimore? The second team, the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts has been nothing less than the model citizen. And of course, he's thinking to himself like, you're talking development, you're talking about preparing him to be a potential starting quarterback. These are individuals that is a no-brainer. There was chatter about the Eagles and Sanders. Was there more behind the scenes? When Cam Newton speaks, the football world listens. Whether it's his trademark confidence, unfiltered honesty, or his flair for the dramatic, the former NFL MVP has never shied away from saying what others only whisper behind closed doors. This week, Newton dropped another bombshell on the football community. The Philadelphia Eagles seriously considered drafting Shedeur Sanders before the Cleveland Browns ultimately landed him. The revelation didn't just turn heads, it set social media ablaze. A franchise at the crossroads. The Philadelphia Eagles are a team that has been riding a delicate balance between championship aspirations and roster identity. Jalen Hurts has been the face of the franchise since taking over full-time in 2021, and his rise to stardom brought stability at a position the Eagles once struggled to secure. But according to Newton, there was a moment in the war room where uncertainty crept in. Look, the Eagles had their eyes on Shedeur, Newton said on his podcast. Don't get it twisted, they love Jalen Hurts, but organizations always think long-term. They were wondering if Shedeur could be that insurance plan, or even a piece to push competition. This wasn't some pipe dream. They did their homework. Newton's comments hinted at a reality that fans don't often acknowledge. NFL franchises are always looking one step ahead, even when they have a star under center. Shedeur Sanders, the prospect who changed the room. The idea that Shedeur Sanders was nearly an Eagle shines a new light on just how coveted he was coming out of Colorado. Playing under his father, Deion Sanders, Shedeur demonstrated not just poise and arm talent, but also an ability to handle immense pressure. Cam, who knows the weight of being a young quarterback under the spotlight, praised Sanders' maturity. Shedeur got that cool factor. He's unbothered, and that's rare for somebody that young. You can throw him in Philly, one of the toughest sports towns in America, and he wouldn't blink. That's why the Eagles looked his way. They knew he's cut from something different. Fans can imagine the alternate timeline, Shedeur in midnight green, running out of the tunnel at Lincoln Financial Field, perhaps even becoming the future franchise quarterback once again for a team that never stops thinking about tomorrow. What it would have meant for Jalen Hurts. The bigger storyline here is how drafting Sanders might have impacted Jalen Hurts. Hurts, fresh off guiding the Eagles to a Super Bowl appearance, has cemented himself as one of the top young quarterbacks in the league. But in the NFL, loyalty lasts only as long as production does. Cam addressed that tension directly. It's not about replacing Jalen. It's about options. Every GM, every head coach, they think about scenarios. What if Hurts gets hurt? What if the contract situation gets messy down the line? Having Shedeur would have been a power play move, but it also could have been uncomfortable. Uncomfortable might be putting it lightly. Philly fans are notorious for their passionate and often brutal relationship with quarterbacks. Just ask Carson Wentz. Adding Sanders into that mix could have created an unnecessary quarterback controversy, one that might have divided the locker room. The Browns stepped in. Ultimately, it was the Cleveland Browns who made the move, securing Shedeur and setting up a brewing storm around Joe Flacco and the future of their quarterback room. But Cam Newton's comments raise an intriguing what if. Imagine Sanders sitting behind Hurts, learning the system, maybe taking over in spot starts. The Eagles' offensive weapons, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert, paired with Sanders' arm talent? It's enough to make any defensive coordinator sweat. But Newton reminded fans that it wasn't about fantasy football. It was about the reality of NFL politics. Look, Shedeur in Cleveland has a chance to play sooner than later. If he went to Philly, he'd be watching for years. Sometimes it's not about who wanted you, it's about who needed you. Fans react, Eagles Nation in shock. As soon as the clip of Newton's comments hit social media, Eagles fans went into a frenzy. Some saw it as proof the front office wasn't fully committed to Hurts. Others brushed it off as standard draft speculation. One fan wrote, "If we had Shedeur and Hurts, that's the definition of unfair. Howie Roseman cooking again." Another countered, "This is exactly why I don't trust Newton's takes. Hurts is the guy. Period." Regardless of where fans landed, the revelation created buzz. Suddenly, Sanders' name was being spoken in Philly bars and on radio stations, not as Cleveland's quarterback of the future, but as the one who almost was theirs.